Welcome back to another World of Warcraft Warlords of Draenor video. This time we're going to be taking a little bit of a look at some armor, and this armor is specifically going to be a set of PvP armor and then a set, well, first of all, a set of PvE armor. The PvE armor, which I'm going to show you first, is from the initial leveling zones as far as we know at the minute, and the PvP stuff, well, I just don't know where it's from, but I'll talk about that later. Anyway, first of all, we have this, which is your plate leveling armor. This appears to be what you get from Frostwolf, the Frostwolf quests, but then also the Shadowmoon quests seem to carry the same bit of armor with them, in terms of some naming things, so I'm guessing that's just unfinished because the Shadowmoon stuff perhaps would be a little bit more Draenei styled. Anyway, let's have a look at this on a human, just because it's a bit of an easy reference for people. First of all, the usual bug applies with the human where this happens, but what do I think of the bit of armor in general? Well, I think it's really cool, actually. I really, really like it. It's not, yeah, okay, it is slightly extravagant, but it's not crazy. There are not glowing lights everywhere, and it just looks like a pretty believable bit of armor, actually. Okay, yeah, it's still got the big shoulders and things like that. Overall, though, I think it's looking pretty good. I definitely do. Let's have a look at a Night Elf male. I think they usually carry armor pretty decently, so yeah, I think this is a really solid model. In terms of things I specifically like, this is one of the few times where I'm okay with big shoulders. I think they do work there. So that's pretty nice. Although, one thing yeah, that's the ears there. That's just the model viewer thing, I believe. In terms of the helm itself, I like the horns on it. I think that's a pretty cool touch. Some of this actually looks a little bit Wrath of the Lich King inspired. And in general, I did like the Wrath armor sets, though I know that's a little bit of a controversial one. So yeah, there's that. I'm not too sure if this texture's really coming out right here on the chest, but overall, I think this is a really solid bit of armor, and on the right class, it could look great. Let's just finish off by having a look at, say, a Tauren. And, oh dear. That happens. Yeah, sometimes Taurens don't really wear armor in a great fashion. Anyway, pretty nice bit of armor. Let's move on to the next one, which is the mail armor. This has me really happy, right? Because look at it. It looks like scale mail in a little way, at least. It looks decently like mail armor, and for my hunter, I think that's great. I would like smaller shoulders, though, considering that this is mail armor, and the classes that use it are perhaps a little bit more agile. And I think the asymmetry is actually pretty cool as well. Usually I'm not one to say that, but I think that it certainly does work here. Another touch I like is all the patches of fur and various other warming things. It kind of reminds you, Draenor is a very harsh place. Frostfire, which is where I think this armor's from, is a very cold place as well. So overall, this works nicely. Let's have a look at some other models. Because my main is a Draenei hunter, I'm going to see what that'll look like. And the answer is, it doesn't work. That's kind of annoying. Well, A, it doesn't work, and B, just make that armor go fully down, because, I hate to be sitting there going, oh, realism, but, I mean, yeah. Oh, wow, it definitely doesn't work in the Gnome. But in general, I think that's a really nice bit of armor, and I'm just happy to see that they are doing a good job with... oh, that face. I'm just happy to see that they're doing a bit of a better job with this set in terms of making it just be a little bit more realistic, I guess. So yeah, well done. Alright, next, let's have a look at the leather armor. I'm going to assume this will be one for the rogues. And I think, for rogues, it works pretty well. First of all, it's got the whole shirtless thing going on, that's what you'll notice. Now, this is going to look a lot better with an updated model, obviously, because, the chest area is going to look a little bit more kind of defined and muscly and all that. So, what do I think of a bit of armor in terms of other things? Well, the shoulders are interesting, I suppose. There's a bit of asymmetry there again, which I'm okay with, but overall, it's not ultra extravagant. It doesn't have glowing lights and massive horns and things sticking out everywhere. Interesting helm as well. But it looks more roguelike than some other sets of armor that we've got, and I think that's definitely worth something. So I'm happy to see that this bit of rogue armor, at least I'm assuming this is rogue armor, is going to look a little bit more roguish. Now then, we have the cloth armor. This is an interesting one. That helm, actually, kind of, like, the face on it reminds me of one of those transmog things they sold a while back. Well, other things, I don't know if I assume that this tattoo comes with the armor, and I think that looks pretty cool with it, actually. I like the color palette overall. I like the way that there is a bit of asymmetry again in this armor. I know I've been saying that a lot, but I think it definitely works for this bit of cloth. And it looks more like a sort of a tribal styled thing. It looks very much more basic in terms of it's tribal, you know, it's not some big highfalutin woven thing that a bunch of people in Stormwind sat down and weaved out over a few months. This looks a lot more rough and ready, and I guess because of that, a lot more brutal and savage, because that seems to be the theme of the expansion. Still looking very good. Though this is a bit of mage art, I think it's warlocks. A lot of people go with Blood Elf warlocks. I wonder what that would look like in Blood Elf. Or yeah, that seems to work. Does this work? Because I know the Blood Elf female model sometimes is a bit weird. Nah, it works. Maybe the face is a little bit too big. That's probably just the thing at the minute. There's our orc. Yeah, overall, it's a pretty nifty set. It actually works decently in the orc, but I'd imagine this would be meant for the full-on orc, like the new orc model. Now, I am supposed to be able to view some of these new models in Wowhead, but it just, like, the links were not working at all, and there were some bugs, so I had to stop that. Okay, so finally, let's have a little bit of a look at the PvP armor. Now, this stuff is attached to item level 660 gear in the databases, but since the Warrior, Death Knight, and Paladin all seem to share the same plate set, and the same goes for the other armor and types, it just looks like this is some generalized, maybe starter PvP armor. I'm not particularly sure. But this set in general, well, first of all, yeah, Wrath of the Lich King. We've got those little fin thingies going on again. I think that's fair enough. I guess some people are going to like that. Let's just change the... We change this model just to do something else rather than glitch around. There we go, stand. Now, in terms of other things, we've got these little lights. What do I think of them? Well, they actually match up with one or two of the weapons that we saw earlier, so that's rather interesting. And in terms of color palette, though, it's... Yeah, it's colorful in a way, but it's a little bit more washed out, which some people are going to like, some people are not going to like, and it's not full of bright, shiny lights and crazy things. I think that it's a safe bit of armor, really. I don't think it'll piss off a lot of people, but I don't think it'll really make a lot of people ultra happy either. So, a little bit of an odd line to walk, but still, I think it's a nice enough bit of armor. Now then, let's move on to this, which appears to be, well, I think this is male armor just because of what the other set looks like. I don't know what I think about this. Honestly, look, it ain't finished. If you just, yeah, it's not finished, that armor. Not finished at all. So, maybe we can, would it work in another model, perhaps? Could we go for a dwarf male? Maybe that would work. Yeah, a little bit better. Well, this seems to be a lower texture resolution version, and there's some issues there with the, kind of the back of, is it the blades of the shoulders? Whatever. Anyway, as for the bit of armor itself, I think that it's got a decent thing going on with all this padded leather. We just need to see a full-on, you know, high-res version of it that's just a little bit sort of better. So yeah, go do that, Blizzard. Now next we have an interesting bit of armor. This well, actually I think I may have mislabeled. Actually, I think that previous one is probably leather when I look at this and just notice that there, you know, does happen to be a metal on it. So sorry, my bad there. But this is kind of interesting in my opinion, in that it's this mix between leather and mail, which is odd. And it's like the consistency's weird, because you've got really well protected arms here. You don't really have a greatly protected front or, you know, top of the thighs or anything. So I'm not too sure what it's like from a practicality standpoint. In terms of looks, though, I think that there is maybe a little bit of metal color just missing that would really bring up some parts of the armor. So if they were just to add some mail parts into the middle, I think that would look a bit better. As for this bit, though, here, I think that mail looks great. It really, well, okay, it doesn't look like individual bits of mail, because obviously if you've ever seen ring mail, it's quite different what that looks like. But that's basically, I think, if you were to take a modern comparison, and a lot of the samurai armor, was samurai? I think it was iron they used. It was just like these little kind of folded, like, it's not slabs, but like little rectangles of metal, and that seems to be what they're going with here. And it does look quite well. Once again, though, it's a bit of armor that's not crazy, it's not extravagant. Maybe a rogue would like that, though, of course, since it's not leather, they won't be able to wear it. But I guess from the perspective of someone who plays a hunter, I like the idea of this. I'm not particularly sold on the colors, just for my own personal, like, just for my character. So yeah, hey, it's interesting though. They definitely seem to be going with a style that's maybe not going to result in as many crazy things as what we had with Mists. I mean, some of the most recent raid tiers is really sketchy in my opinion. Anyway, so finally for this bit of this PvP set, we have this cloth gear. Not particularly sure what to think of it really. I don't play many clothies. I don't think it's particularly great. I don't think it's particularly bad, but there's just a bit of a lack of interest there for me. I think the shoulders are kind of nifty though. Those spikes definitely look painful, but I'm not particularly sure that they really add much to the rest of the gear. And as for the actual, like, kind of not, would you say cloak? Or the main, like, body of the armor, it just, it's not particularly interesting to me. It doesn't really speak out. I guess color-wise, it's certainly varied, but once again, they're a little bit more washed out. I do like, though, how the little folds and creases are all shaded in by hand. I think that looks really cool. So, yeah, this is really one just to leave up to the casters, see what they think about it. Overall, though, what do I think about all this armor? Well, I like the leveling stuff. I'm less keen on some of this PvP stuff, but everything's in alpha, nothing's finished. All these bits of armor could be changed, updated, etc. This is just a preview, and take it as such. Especially with the PvP armor, because it does seem like it's a lot less polished than some of the other stuff. Anyway, that's it for me. I hope you've enjoyed this little sneak peek, and I will see you next time.